Hey you, hey, thank you so much for clicking play. Now on this video, I'm going to publicly share for the first time my 2 dating site horror stories and why I swore to myself that I would never join a dating site ever again. Should I find myself single, I am not going back to those things, and why I also swore that should somebody come to me for advice and ask me if they should join a dating site to meet people, I will tell them proceed with caution. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but proceed with caution, because at this point, I think dating sites only worked when they were new, like 15 years ago. And then they stopped working and they're just a business venture where I even suspect there's like agents, like secret agents who are actually people who are working for the dating sites, but they're like put on there, their profiles are put on there to lead people on and make you hopeful, thinking that you will find love or you will find a date or whatever it is that you're looking for, just to keep you there so you can keep, renewing your subscription. But they actually work for the dating sites. Like at this point, I am a conspiracy theorist when it comes to dating sites. They are not meant for you to find a partner. I don't think so. I think it's a business. I think in the beginning when they started, it was all good. That was the point, to make people, meet and date, find their partners, get married, even have children. And there were many happily ever after stories. And then it reached a point where the executives in the dating sites went like, hold up. If we are making people meet their significant other, like their spouse, they are leaving. So we have a gap, or we have less clients as a result of them finding their match and leaving. And not too many people. It's like a casino. If people come there and keep on winning, they just, like, the casino loses money. And you know how the house always wins? At this point, I think it's the same mentality. They hired like lottery and casino people to come and strategize for them, because a lot of these dating sites, I'm actually thinking that less than 1% of people end up happily ever after, and the rest of us, we're just scammed on those things. I have a theory. I'm sorry, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think they are meant for people to be matched. So if you want to join a dating site, proceed with caution. So if you've been following me, or if you know anything about me from my Instagram, then you already know that I am married to an Austrian man. We didn't meet on a dating site, thank God. We met in person back at home in my country, Kenya. You know that I'm a Kenyan, but I live in Europe, in his home, Austria. Now, there was a time in the beginning of our relationship where it got a bit rocky, right before we got married, and we split up. We decided to go our separate ways. We were already living together in Europe, and because he's a great guy, he did not go like, back to Africa, raus, which is German for out. He didn't do that. He let me stay at his place. We have 2 places, one in a big city called Linz, and this smaller place in the Alpine region of Austria. So I could stay in any of the 2 places. He had no problem with that, even though we were not romantically linked. And he would go to work and I would stay at home. I had my own section of the house and I could use his stuff. He had, like I said, great guy. I guess that's why I ended up marrying him, because he's just a really nice person. And nice doesn't necessarily mean weak. He stood his ground, and that's why we broke up. I don't want to get into details, but I wanted something which he didn't want. And I tried and I threatened to break up with him, and he was like, that's cool, we can break up. He has his standards and I respect him for that. And so we broke up. And then he was like, so would you like to continue living in Europe, or do you want to go back home to Kenya? And I was like, can I please stay here, because I want to find a job here and start working. So during that period of time when I was looking for a job, eventually I found a job and I continued living with him. And then in the end, I went back to him and I asked him if he wants to try again. At this point, I have to be honest and admit that it was quite the turn on encountering a different guy. He was a different guy. He is a different guy. A guy who stands his ground. It was just such a turn on that I had given him an ultimatum, and he wasn't going to play my little game. He wasn't going to cave. He wasn't going to give in, and he made it clear that he wanted me, but he didn't really need me. So if I felt like I want to go back to Kenya because he won't do exactly what I tell him to, then he was okay with that. And for me, that was different. I mean, I was immature back then. Maybe I still am, but I was more immature back then. When a woman is in her 20s, you have guys falling, at your feet, just doing whatever you tell them to. They compromise their values all the time. So to meet a guy who's actually a really nice guy like him, a good guy, but one who knows what he wants, he's very like alpha like that, because being nice doesn't mean being weak, was just such a turn on for me, especially because what I was hearing from his friends and family, because he's a right winger, he votes right, he doesn't vote left, is that, they would like brand him all sorts of like bad names, including a racist, a Nazi. If you know politics, you know that the right gets branded racist and radicals all the time, but in reality, they're just people who are patriots and who love their country. I mean, if you were a racist, you would never have married me. So the people on the left who brand him that, I don't agree with them, and that's why my views became even, my views were always right-leaning, but after dating my husband, they became even more right-leaning. So, and I might not be a conservative myself, he is a conservative, but I see the sense in how he does things, and that's the reason why he's been able to be very successful, like he stand on things, and that's why I had to go back to him crawling, asking if we can get back together, and we ended up getting married that year. Anyways, back to the video. Because I was still, I guess, in love with him, so that's how we ended up getting married, but for a long period of time, we were broken up. So, he stood his ground, and he wasn't, going to like compromise his standards, his values for a girl, which is very commendable. I have to say, it's very alpha male. So even though he's nice, that doesn't mean that, he's weak, which I came to really respect. I learned a lot. Stand your ground. So he let me go, and, I came back on my own. So during that time, I joined a dating site because we decided we can see other people as long as we don't bring them to any of the two houses. Fine. So he was living his life, I was living my life. He's in finance, so he would wake up, go to his meetings with clients, and go to the bank. He's a financial advisor. I would wake up and, I guess, chill at the house, and later in the afternoon go outside and try to hand out my resume to different companies in my neighborhood, see if I could secure a job. Eventually, he helped me find a job, and that was also just indicative of what a great guy he is, because a lot of people, you don't help your ex. He let me live at his place, he helped me secure a job, and he told me, as soon as you're ready to move out, just let me know. You can get an apartment, I can help you find one, and that's fine with me. So that was really cool. I guess that's why I just had to marry him, because how do you let such a guy go? So, during the breakup period, I joined a dating site, one of the popular ones. And on that site, I met this Austrian guy. I don't know if you've ever seen a white guy in dreads. They are so hot when they braid their hair. I know, Americans might have a problem with that because cultural appropriation. The rest of the world doesn't care about stuff like that. I'm a Kenyan. I don't care. Do whatever you want with your hair. You're not appropriating my culture. Who decided that dreads is only for black people? It doesn't even make sense. Sometimes Americans will even see someone dressed up like as a Maasai or something like that and be like, why would you do that? That's not your culture. And for us, it's like, at least they're appreciating our culture. They're not ashamed of it. They're showing it off. Like, we don't mind. Anyways, that's politics, and today's video is not political. If you want to watch some of my political videos, you can subscribe to my channel. Go and find them. Yeah, I've also made political commentary. So again, I don't mind a guy in dreads, and I actually think they look very handsome when they dread their hair. I don't know. So I met this really cute guy. on one of the dating sites that I joined. Actually, I did join two, to be honest. And because I was trying, to cast my net far and wide. I was lonely, I was single, I was living in Europe for the first time. I wanted to move out, and so I was thinking, if I meet a local guy, we can go apartment hunting together. We don't have to move in together, but he can just help me understand, how it works here, and then I can find my first job, and we will go out there and get married and live happily ever after. And so, I was hopeful. I had stars in my eyes, first time in Europe, and that's how I ended up on two dating sites, because I really was serious about meeting someone, having a boyfriend. Eventually he can propose and we can get married. And because I had a cool ex who I guess was also seeing other people, I don't know what my husband was doing during our big break. Maybe he saw other people. I've never asked him because I don't want to get jealous. Women, I don't want to know what he was doing, and he's never asked me what I was doing during my free time when we were broken up. So I was serious about meeting someone, and I see this hot dreadlocked guy from Austria, and I read his profile, quite normal, and he likes to smoke a little something from time to time. So I'm like, my people. I'm from Kenya, and if you know anything about Kenya, you know that we are into the reggae culture a lot. We have a lot of beach parties which are reggae themed. We have a lot of reggae nights in Nairobi. Doti family Thursdays, that's me and my girl on, one of those reggae nights. And so meeting someone with a similar culture, even though he's white and from Austria, was quite exciting for me. Mrasta! Awo, Lanshata. So we really just connected, and we texted back and forth, and then we, planned to meet. Now, he said he would drive to me, and we decided that we were going to meet at the local lake near my house in the big city Linz. Like I mentioned, my hubby and I have two places in the big city Linz and right here in the Alpine region of Austria, where I'm sitting and where I'm mostly at. He's mostly in the big city, but we live in between the two places. So we decided we're going to meet at the big lake in Linz, and so he drove there. I just had to walk there, and I was to bring my liquor. He was to bring his liquor, because he was honest with me that he was kind of broke. He was in between jobs, and I just appreciated that honesty, because in this day and age of internet and all this, YouTube and Instagram, everyone is pretending to be rich. So it was really refreshing to see a normal person who doesn't earn much. He doesn't have a full-time job. He's in between jobs, but he's keeping it 100 with me. So he's like, it would be really nice if you carried your own alcohol, and I'll carry my own alcohol. And I even added sandwiches just to be nice, so we can also eat something. I made sandwiches in my ex's kitchen. Now it's my kitchen because we ended up getting married, but at the time my hubby was my ex. So I made a bunch of sandwiches. I put it in a basket, and then I had the picnic mat, and I laid it out on the lake. I was early, so I sat there. I set up everything. I had the drinks, the beers. I bought a 6-pack, 2 of them. Went to the lake with a 6-pack. I was invested in this. Okay, we had weeks of texting, and honestly, I really liked this person. I liked how relatable he was. I'm a Kenyan. He knows so much about Africa because of the whole Rasta. He was into the Rasta culture. So he read a lot about Ethiopia, Kenya, all these countries. He knew so much, and that intrigued me. So I'm like, that's my husband. Finally, I've got a man. So I was invested. I put out at the lake. I chose the best spot where we have a view of the water. You want everything to be perfect. And I sat there, and I just, secured the mat so the wind doesn't blow it away with rocks from the lake. And then I put our drinks on one side, and then I just laid there in my swimsuit ready for my mans to come. So he texted me I'm looking for parking. I'm like, yes. He even showed up. I'm at the lake. He's looking for parking. He parked his car, and I'm sitting there waiting for him. He walks up to me. First impression, great. He looks nice, clean. His dreads are nice and clean, not one of those dirty dreads. He's handsome, just like in his pictures. he looks at me and he's like, you look just like in your pictures. You're gorgeous. Like, that was his first statement. I'm like, so we hugged. I was so tempted to kiss him in the mouth because I'm a hoe like that. No, I'm playing. Because I just thought like, the lips were top tier. But I didn't. We just like, hi, nice to meet you, Liz. Nice to meet you. He told me his name. I mean, I knew his name already, but he like repeated it. And then he's like, oh, this is a cute little spot you chose, right? So we spoke English because my German is broken German and he had a good level of English. So I also like appreciated that. So he's like, oh, you chose the best spot with like the view of the lake. I'm like, yes, for you. So I'm flirting with him. And yeah, so we sat down. I'm like, so let's do this. And we start to talk and all that. Guys, that man drank because he also brought his own liquor, just like I brought my own liquor. Again, he was honest. He told me he doesn't have that much money. I appreciated his honesty, and so he brought his own liquor. I brought my own liquor, and I told him I'm also looking for a job. I still live with my ex. He did not mind, and so he told me he can help me go apartment hunting. Like, we vibed, right? So I'm sitting there and he takes out his 2 bottles of wine. I'm like, oh, thank you. Because like, you know, he went out of his way to get us alcohol. I also brought like 6 packs and wine. He downs the first bottle that he brought in like 30 minutes. He just drinks the whole bottle. He downs the second bottle. By the time it's like 1.5 hours, he's already finished 2 bottles that he brought. I haven't even had a sip of his because I was having a beer of what I brought. I haven't even finished like my second beer, but he's like on his second bottle. He downs like, you know how I said I brought 6 packs? He downs like one of those. I'm like, okay, slow down. Okay, just stop. Like, you're drinking too much. And he's like, I'm good. Like, what's your problem? First date. This man was finishing my beer. He had already finished his wine, which he brought for us, but apparently he brought it for himself because I never even got to taste his wine. He finished my beer. He was asking me if like there's a restaurant where we can get shots. Shots with you looking like this. This guy falls asleep right there on the lake because he is too drunk to even stand up. I end up going to like a nearby restaurant and asking the people if they can help me because I can't even get him to like wake up. And I'm like, you know, hey, how are you going to drive back home? So the people at the restaurant tell me, you know what, let's just call a taxi that can take him to his place. And then the taxi man gets there and we are like asking him, where do you live? And people are looking at me like, gosh, you're such a mess. Who is this you met? Rastaman was gone. So he's like, why do you want to know my address? He's completely aggressive with the people who are trying to find out where he lives so the taxi man can drop him there. So I made sure that I saw him get into the taxi. You know, in case of anything, my texts are on his phone. So should something happen to him, I don't want to be responsible, so I make sure to like secretly take the picture of him getting into the taxi, secretly take the face of the taxi man, and secretly take the number plate of the car, okay? And I made sure that I have these things on my phone for at least a month. Should something come up, I can explain it to the police. But I never of course I blocked him. I never communicated with him after that first date. And he never really called me. So I guess he got the message that I don't want anything to do with him. But who even does that on a first date? Story number 2. Same dating site. Or maybe it was the other one. Because I had like 2. I used to talk to like people on both sides. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I meet this guy who lives in Germany. He is ethnically Bosnian, because if you guys know the history of Europe, there was the Bosnian War. So a lot of Bosnians, Serbians, and Croatians moved to Western Europe to find jobs. So his mom moved here and he was born in Germany. So he's basically a German, only that he's ethnically Bosnian. and his mom moved here and worked as a maid, and like he had such like a good vibe to him, someone who's raised right, talked highly of his mother because he had a good job, he had a nice apartment which he had bought, he wasn't renting. So according to how we talked, and we talked for weeks. So this is someone with credibility. He shared pictures, videos, like we were good, like we were a great match. And I told him that I was from Kenya, and I loved that he was one of those white people who knows so much about other people's culture. Like he was so informed about how in Kenya we have tribes, we are not all the same people, African. He knew that we had tribes and that the tribes spoke different languages. And so like for me, he was just exciting to talk to, and he had like the same music taste as myself. So like he knew a lot of like rap music, hip hop, drill. So I was like really impressed, like this white boy got swag. Come on now. Like I was impressed, right? So we would speak English most of the time, and we texted back and forth. And then finally we decided, you know what, baby boy, baby girl, we need to meet. Like these two lovebirds finally need to see one another face to face. We had exchanged too many photos, too many videos. We had video called. We were nasty sometimes late in the night. Like everything was fine. Like a match. A match, when it's a match, it's a match. So we decided, you know what, let's meet in Austria. I can even tell you the name of the area where we agreed to meet, Wolfgangsee. Very beautiful area. And he told me, because you're 1 hour, I was 1 hour away by train, you can go there before me, just, check in. Because I told him we are not sharing a hotel room. I'm not sharing a hotel room with a stranger. If you're a smart girl, don't share a house, a room, a resort with someone you just met. So I told him I'd have to book my own room, and I can reserve one for you before you get there. And so we agreed. He would have to drive 3 hours from Germany. So we started early. So I went there 1 hour, 1 hour by train. And I checked into my hotel room. Wolfgangsee has some really nice places overlooking the lake, and I reserved his room. So now all I had to do is wait for him. So I went to the lake, and I just spent my time there because, like I said, the hotel which I booked was one of the best ones in Wolfgangsee, overlooking the water. And they had an adjacent restaurant, and there was like a bunch of restaurants. If you go to Wolfgangsee, you will see what I mean. So I went to one of these restaurants, and we decided we were going to have a late lunch or like early dinner together. So I was looking the part. I sat there waiting for him, and I texted him and I told him, I could not get you a lake view. I have a lake view. If you want, we can stop later, because we planned to stay there 3 days and 3 nights. So I told him, you can have the lake view for like one of the nights, and I can come to your room. But you know how it goes with such things. If you guys really click and really trust one another, and things get, hot and steamy, you just might end up staying in the same room. So I was open-minded to it because he was cute. I liked him. He used to go to the gym a lot, and we'll see, right? But I'm not staying with a stranger like from jump. First, I have to meet you, have dinner with you, get to know you. So he's like, that's cool, I don't mind. I told him, you have a garden view, I have a lake view, but we can like swap, or we can stay together, who knows. And he was like, cool. So the plan was to be there 3 days and 3 nights. So I pay for my 3 days and 3 nights, and I tell them, please reserve that for my boyfriend. I actually referred to him as my boyfriend because we had been texting back and forth for a long time, and we had gotten like really close, really intimate. So I told them, he's coming at around 4 or 5. Reserve that for him, and we'd like a table for 2 for dinner. Okay, so everything was set, and I sat at the lake, and I told him, hey, you have the garden view, I have the lake view, whatever. And he said, cool, I'm on my way. Okay, it takes him 3 hours to get there, right? So I text him about 20 minutes after 3 hours, and I think, okay, just wait, maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes. I text him, are you almost here? Nothing. Crickets. And then 1 hour, like a total of now 4 hours. It would take him 3 hours to get there. 4 hours later, he's a no-show. So I'm thinking, hey, where are you? I'm still at the lake. And I make a joke like, I don't want you to find me completely drunk because I'm having wine. So let me know so I can pace myself and know, how many glasses of wine I should order. And then I tell him about the menu, like, what do you want to eat, and blah, blah, blah. Nothing. So I text him again. This time I'm referring to him by his name. No, baby, darling, honey. This time I'm calling him by his name and going like, where are you? He texts me back like, sorry, I'm not coming. One sentence. Sorry, I'm not coming. I am 4 glasses of wine in and I type out a novel. Like, how dare you? We've been talking for weeks. I have spent money coming here by train. You know that it's my first job. At that time, I'd already started working. I am using it to pay for my own hotel room. I haven't even asked you for money. Like, I go in a whole novel, and then I copy paste it so I can send it to him on WhatsApp. I'm blocked. Can't even send the message. I'm blocked. So I am hella confused. What did I do? Everything has been fine up until this point. Guys, listen to me and listen very carefully. Move closer. There's a lot of sick people on dating sites. There's people who are there because they're a sadist and they need to hurt people. Like, they're just there for that. To talk, video call, give you a fallacy, a dream, some kind of illusion, but they will never meet you. You will never have a relationship with them. I think he's one of those people. Like I said, at this point, I am a conspiracy theorist. I think dating sites are some kind of experiment on human beings because I don't even understand. Like, at that moment, that's the point where I finally understood why women say that some men will break you. Because he almost broke my spirit, but because it's me, I am me, I knew that this is the time where Elizabeth loves Elizabeth. This is the time where I embrace myself, I preserve my dignity, I love myself. This is not the time to feel sorry for myself because that's how people go under. That's how girls get broken. He's not going to break my spirit. So I just went back to my room. I told them I can't stay all 3 days. I'll be there for a night. So if you watched that part of my video and you're thinking, what do you mean he just wrote, I'm not coming? I mean exactly that. If you're thinking, so what was wrong? Did he give you an explanation? Nope. If you're thinking, no, that's not possible, you guys probably had an argument a few minutes earlier, nope. We didn't have any argument. It's exactly the way I told you. We had planned it. I went out there. I took a train. I paid for the train. I paid for my room for 3 nights. I booked his room. If you're still confused thinking like, no, something must have happened in between, did you at least ask him? Guys, he simply wrote, I'm not coming. Period. And I fully understand why your mind is doing mental gymnastics right now. You want some kind of logical explanation. I understand it because I did the same thing for a lot of minutes there. Like my mind just going back and forth and there's nothing. He just did that to me because he could. That's it. You're thinking, no, Liz, there's a part of the story that you're not telling us. Actually, I'm telling you the whole story. It was exactly like that. That's how it happened. I'm not coming. One sentence. And I got blocked. I looked around and I'm like, look at this beautiful room. Look at that lake view. I told them to cancel the reservation for his room, to cancel the dinner. I'll have dinner alone. And I'm thinking, look at you, girl. Like, you're a Kenyan, living the good life. You're out here having drinks in Austria, nice room. Do you remember a time when you were broke in Nairobi, didn't even know, like, what you're going to have for dinner? Look at you today. That your biggest problem is that a guy stood you up. That's it. Do you remember a time in Kenya when you were struggling, no dinner, like, you had problems? Like, do you remember that? Do you know how many people would die to have your lifestyle? So I just looked around and I'm like, room service, can I get a pizza? Can I get a bottle of champagne? Like, I just had a good night, and then the next day I went back home. But like, I understood finally why girls say that a guy broke them, because I've never understood it. Like, what do you mean someone broke your spirit? You choose, if someone is going to break you or not. I mean, you're the one who has the power. I've always been that kind of person. But like, I finally got it, because for a second there, not a minute, but for a second there, he almost got me. He almost made me feel sorry for myself. Then I snapped back to my strength, because again, it depends on your character, and that's just who I am. So I appreciated that I was in a nice restaurant, a nice hotel with a nice view, and I just picked myself up. But that was something. Like, who does that and why? So I decided, don't even text him, nothing, let it go. Never heard from the weirdo ever, and that was it. So those are my 2 horror stories of dating sites. If you're going to join a dating site, maybe you might meet someone, end up getting married, having kids, but I would tell you, proceed with caution. And I'm telling you that from experience, not the Rasta man passing out on a sister.